The Gilded Age was one of the most dynamic periods in American history, marked by unprecedented economic growth, sweeping technological advances, and vast new opportunities for personal wealth. This era saw the rise of some of the country's wealthiest individuals whose fortunes were built on the backs of hardworking men and women who toiled in dangerous conditions for meager wages. Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to do something a little different. In an effort to bring history to life, this video is presented in a first-person narrative based on real events and people from the past. I'll be stepping into the shoes of a worker living during the Gilded Age. My task is to show you what a typical day looked like for just $1. The average wage for a laborer at the time. The year is 1894, and I am a 23-year-old man living in New York City with my wife and 2 kids. Times are tough right now. Business is slow, and it's been hard to find work. But today, I was finally able to land a job working on one of the many construction projects going up all over the city. So I got up early, had breakfast with the family, and headed out to meet my crew. The subway wasn't around yet, so it took me about 45 minutes to walk to the construction site near Madison Square Garden. I met up with the other guys, and we got to work laying bricks for the foundation of a new office building. Now, the boss man told us that we'd be working 10 hours today, but he didn't say if that was gone knobby straight or if there'd be any overtime. It didn't really matter anyway, because even if we did work longer than 10 hours, we wouldn't get paid any more than a man who put in the full 10. That's the way it always is. We worked in silence for a while, each of us focused on our individual tasks. Then one of the guys, Sal, shouted to me, "Hey PA, can you spare a cigarette?" I pulled one out of the pack and tossed it to him. He was too far away for me to catch it though, and it fell into the pile of bricks below where it landed with a dull thud. "Don't worry," I said, chuckling. "It'll still burn." He grinned back at me and lit it on fire. Just then, a man dressed in a fancy suit approached our work area. "Is this the best you can do?" he asked sharply, staring down at the progress we'd made. "We're working as fast as we can," I called back, trying to keep the sarcasm out of my voice. He was one of the bosses. I knew, even if he wasn't the direct boss. Over my shoulder, I could see the architect sketching the plans for the building. I bet he was making good money. If I could just get a piece of that action, instead of having to lay bricks all day, I would be a rich man myself. But that kind of thinking is a waste of time. There's only so many architects to go around. I'm not talented enough to be one of them. I don't have connections. I don't know anyone who knows anyone. And besides, it's not like I could go to college to learn these things. Who's gonna take care of my family while I'm gone? I wiped the sweat off my forehead and continued working. As the hours passed, I stole glances at the clock tower nearby to keep track of the time. 10 o'clock came around quickly, and I was relieved to hear the bell ring. At last, my aching muscles couldn't take much more. I gathered up my tools and joined the rest of the men walking down the street. "It's lunchtime, and I'm hungry enough to eat a horse!" We stopped at a nearby tavern for a quick bite. The beer was cheap, and it hit the spot after a morning of hard labor. A couple of guys talked about how much money the owner of the building was making. I didn't join in. Talking about other people's money just brings bad luck. After lunch, I headed to the next job site where I was scheduled to work in the afternoon. The same routine began. Hours of hard work and aching muscles. Around 4:30, I started to worry. This job might run long, and I had to get home before dark. My wife gets scared when I'm late. She thinks something bad has happened to me. I love her very much, and she worries too much. She works as a seamstress when she can find work, but we both know that it's hard to make money doing that. She makes less than a man typically would, but that doesn't matter to her. It's important for her to be able to help out at home whenever she can. I hurried up my work as the sun began to set, but the boss man wasn't concerned with my problems. He didn't care if I had a wife and kids waiting for me at home. All that mattered was that I kept laying bricks until the job was finished. Finally, at 6:30, he shouted, "All right, you can knock off for the day." I grabbed my tools and ran as fast as I could toward home. The streets were crowded with pedestrians and horse-drawn traffic, and I had to dodge between carriages and carts. As I passed by a bakery, the smell of fresh bread filled my nostrils, but I couldn't stop to buy one. Not tonight. I had to get home as quickly as possible. When I arrived, my wife opened the door and rushed to me with tears in her eyes. "You're hurt!" she cried, taking my soiled and sweaty appearance. "Were you in an accident?" I laughed and wiped the sweat off my brow with the back of my hand. "No, no accident. It's just another day at the job." She shook her head, still worried, and helped me out of my coat. The kids were asleep by now, thank God, and I went straight to bed without even bothering to change my clothes. Tomorrow would be another day, and I prayed it would be better than this one. My wife woke me up early the next morning. She was up before sunrise, as usual, and she had breakfast ready to go. For me, there's nothing better than the smell of bacon frying in the pan. It gives me the energy I need to start a new day. Before I left, my wife pressed $1 into my hand. "Take care of yourself," she said, kissing me goodbye. "And please come home safely." I promised I would, and headed out the door. As I walked, I wondered if I'd be able to find work again today. It wasn't easy to find consistent employment, but I was hoping I could pick up a few more hours at the same construction site. No such luck. After walking around the neighborhood, I discovered that the site had been abandoned, and there was no work to be found. Dejected, I wandered through the city. I hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon and my stomach was growling loudly. Walking past a hot dog stand, I stopped and handed the man a quarter. I saved up that money just in case I couldn't find work. These kinds of situations were becoming more and more frequent lately, and I was starting to get desperate. I found myself standing outside a large department store, one of the biggest buildings in the city. Through the window, I watched the busy shoppers browsing the latest fashions and other merchandise. Inside the store, everything you could want was right there within reach. I stared at a pair of shoes in the window and wished I had the money to buy them. They weren't just any shoes. They were work shoes, sturdy and well-made. My current ones were worn out and needed replacing. It would be great to have a new pair before I hurt my feet further, but I didn't have any money to spend, not even enough to buy a cup of coffee. And so I turned and walked out of the store, back out onto the noisy, dirty street. The rumble of traffic filled my ears. People and animals alike were everywhere, crowding the sidewalks and taking up most of the road. This was supposed to be America, the land of opportunity, but I wasn't seeing much opportunity around me. I felt like a cog in a machine, a replaceable part that could easily be discarded. With each passing day, I was losing hope that I would ever become wealthy in this country. I walked aimlessly for a while, unsure of my next move. As the sun began to set, I headed back home. The sky was filled with hues of orange and purple as the day came to an end. I walked slowly, my mind filled with thoughts of the future. I had a wife and kids depending on me, and it was up to me to provide for their needs. I wanted more than just the bare necessities for them. I wanted to give them the chance at a better life that I never had. As I walked, I thought about how much things had changed since the days when my father used to drive the team of oxen. Back then, life was simpler. We didn't have the conveniences that we do now, but we also didn't have the poverty and inequality. I missed those days, but I knew we couldn't go back. We had to move forward and make the best of what we had. I finally arrived home, tired and hungry. I had nothing to show for my day's work, and that meant our meal would be sparse once again. Maybe tomorrow would be better, I thought as I opened the door. But deep down, I knew it probably wouldn't. I was just another worker in a sea of faces, a nameless nobody who would never amount to anything. And for $1, that was my life. Thank you for watching! If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel to stay up to date on all our latest content. I'd also like to take a moment to say a special thank you to our supporters whose names you can see on screen right now. If you'd like to see your name on the screen and contribute to the production of these videos, join our membership program today. I'll catch you next time.